stunning wife of 14 years, together for 16 years with 2 children, has been having an affair. I discovered the truth. Now I'm at a loss. I've been reading postings on this site for the last week. D-Day was last Saturday, and I've been looking for answers ever since. I'm trying to make sense of it all. I apologize in advance for the length of this article. I'm simply going to say what I know today and hope for some clarity in the comments. I guess I should provide some context. I am a 40-year-old man. She is a 38-year-old female. The AP is 30/M. We met in our early 20s, dated on and off, and were pals, lovers, and BF/GF. We eventually married. We have a 14-year-old daughter and a small boy, 8. The problem is that she's always had my heart. I suppose I realized early on that I loved her and wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. We discussed everything. We laughed till we cried at the silliest things, we had a love of music, and went to many performances together, and we just liked each other's company. I had never been happy in my life than when our children arrived. We actually made some amazing tiny creatures. They are absolutely gorgeous, with hearts larger than I could have ever imagined. So far, we've done an excellent job of raising them. If there is one thing I am most proud of as a marriage, it is that we created 2 selfless children who really care about one another and the world around them. I'm over heels in love with these 2. Our marriage has certainly had its ups and downs. Obviously, things can't always be amazing after this many years, that's simply marriage. We cruise while we're on top of the world. We were like Maverick and Goose in that we own life. When we were low, before to this affair, we always found a way to chat, find common ground, bounce back, and cruise again. We fought for one another. This is probably why it aches so badly. Rather than battling for him, she picked him. Chris is the name of the person she met. They used to be co-workers. She quit that job and took another, but she kept in touch with him for some reason throughout the previous year. When they first met, she described this co-worker. He was usually mentioned casually, in passing. "Oh, Chris did this today." Yada 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 yada. Yet I recall sensing something wasn't quite right, or maybe I was simply envious. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was a sign if ever there was one. COVID has really messed things up in the past 2 months. I'm not blaming COVID for this, but it didn't make matters any easier. I absolutely faced a massive mountain of despair throughout COVID. I did, without a doubt, withdraw. I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning, work out in my gym. This has been my routine for over 2 years, take a shower, and then work from home. I've been working from home since March all day. After that, I'd go on Discord or TeamSpeak with some friends and relatives I hadn't seen in a long time since COVID, and spend the night conversing and mingling. I've always been a gregarious person, and I believe I drew heavily on it on a nightly basis. I put forth much more effort socially than I did with her. That is correct. Around this time, she had leg surgery, which rendered her unable to walk for an extended length of time. We didn't talk as much as we should have throughout this period. I assisted her with her care, prepared her meals, and assisted her with everything she needed. But I did leave her alone for many days without any social engagement. They talked heavily during this time. I'm still not sure why I did it. I can't help but wonder if I had subconsciously rejected her since she had already rejected me for him. Timeline. She quit her job, where he worked, in January for a new one. They maintained contact. February everything was normal, was as amazing as it usually been, and our relationship felt terrific. COVID struck in March, I was WFH, and we leaned heavily on each other. We're bracing for what the epidemic may bring. April-May everything seemed normal, and we started a massive garden together. If we had to quarantine and distance ourselves, we seemed to be doing it well and together. We cooked delicious food, drank cocktails, and simply did things together. He'd start asking personal questions about her relationship with me around this time. Things like, "How does he treat you?" are all she has given me in this regard. I suspect the conversations went deeper than this one question, but she's been telling me little bits of truth here and there and a whole lot of I don't know or I don't remember, so who knows. June/July she started meeting him on her lunch breaks. It's around this time they had their first kiss. According to her, she told him this would ruin our families, to which he responded, I think I am okay with that. I think of everything I learned, this exchange of words hit me the hardest. July/August they met more frequently on her lunch breaks. They would meet in parks, in parking lots, at her work, at his house. They messed around in his wife's bed, taking their clothes off and making each other come. According to her, they tried to have one time in their bed, but he couldn't get it up. This detail is something that according to her was a regular occurrence. And a detail of importance for later. They had in their cars in these parking lots. During this time I was deep into depression. I would often vent to her about how off I felt. I remember sitting in the shower just staring at the walls, wondering if life would be easier for her and the kids if I was just dead. I never considered killing myself, but certainly thought it would be easier if I was gone. Early September her leg surgery occurs early September. She's at home for 2 weeks with her leg up and not going anywhere. They exchanged a lot of texts during this time. My depression had only grown, feelings of being lost, like I was drowning, were daily occurrence for me. Late September she's back to work, albeit with a cast and scooter/crutch to move around. She met him at his house again, in his wife's bed. Depression was more of the same. I went hard into my workouts here. I was hitting personal records often. I bought a punching/endurance post and began boxing/spar training. October to mid-October they meet in parking lots more frequently, and book a hotel room with each other. They spend an entire day together after pretending to get ready for work that day. After she leaves the room to head home she texts me, "Phew, what a rough day, holy fuck this day hurts." That text just gutted me. At the time, I responded the way a husband would. Supporting his wife after a tough day at work. Reading back on that day now, as I do, trying to find signs I missed. I was home with our kids, working, while helping them do distance learning. A stress that is not fun, juggling a kid's education while trying to remain accountable with work. A couple times in the car she mentioned he couldn't get it up. They had also told each other they loved one another. My depression was subsiding here, I felt more confident than ever, and I knew ultimately that she was off and I needed to know WTF was going on. Late October D-Day present. I had suspected something was up, everything was off. So early morning before my workout I snooped. I felt guilty snooping at first, but I found the affair. The fog had lifted. Only for a new one to set in. I sometimes wish I could go back before that morning to remain oblivious. Ignorance, bliss, all of that I suppose. I found a long text history, with huge gaping gaps in discussion that was a massive flag. So I opened her Snapchat, and noticed they had a very long snap streak, something I tried so many times to get going with her. Makes sense now as to why we never had that streak. Here is where I found saved pics of him, telling her he missed her telling him, "I can't wait to kiss that face, mister," etc. Nauseating stuff to find, really. The kind of stuff that makes your heart die 1,000 times in a second. I gasped for breath, and I saw red. So I confronted her, I woke her up. It was 4 a.m., I flipped the light on, gave her the phone and asked her to explain. Her first words were that she was upset that I looked through her phone. She tells me they kissed once. That was it. It's never just one kiss, is it? After reading so much on here I have discovered that they always give you just a tiny bit of truth, never the lot of it. I can't remember how I got her to tell me they had, but when I finally did she said they had once in a car. And they only met up a few times. I think when I showed her Google Map history that she realized I knew more than she was letting on. She started filling me in on more details. How many times they had, as far as she's letting on, that he couldn't always get it up, that he wasn't good, just different, whatever the that means, whatever the fuck that means. When I look through her phone data I find that her average texts per month went from 500 to 4,500. On the worst day they had texted each other once every 3 minutes over 16 hours. She says most of their conversation was just random, "How are you? How was your day? Hey, here's a song for you to listen to. I have hard time believing anything she says. When asked why she did it, at first she tells me that she was lonely, and that she felt like I didn't value her. Now that reasoning has shifted to I don't know, I was stupid, I got addicted and couldn't stop. To be clear, I am fine admitting that I was distant, but I have a very hard time taking blame for this. She could have talked to me at any point, raised her flag and told me we were slipping, and I would have fought with my last breath to make things right. She didn't do that though, she chose him. She fell into him. She dated him, she fucked him, they told each other they loved one another. Update Automod removed my comment. So I found out everything I needed to know at this point. But that doesn't stop the wondering, the need to dig and find details. I feel like a psychopath. I feel like I'm not myself. I feel desperate for control. Which is not like me. I'm not that person. I just want her to tell me everything I have to know. After reading so many stories like mine, the spouse, whether woman or man, always wants to know the level of deceit and details of their cheating partner's actions. I am not alone in this. These attempts to gaslight and trickle truth me are more infuriating than the action she committed. The day I sent everything to his wife and then confronted him. I sent it all. Everything. He lied about everything. He said my wife was making it all up because she was obsessed with him and wanted to break them up to be with him. This infuriated me. I wanted him to fucking own his actions. For days I had been wanting to approach him, to scare him, to hurt him. I found him at his work, stocking shelves. He's retail. His face was deep in a shelf, so I got right up on him. He's a small little man, pale and frail looking. Hey Chris. Jesus, the look on his face, through his mask I could see only his eyes and the bridge of his nose. The absolute fear in him felt so empowering. I mean, I don't think I needed to do this looking back. But I'd be lying if it didn't feel great to take back something that he helped steal from me. Why didn't you accept my Snapchat, bud? I thought we shared everything? Watching him cower and stumble backwards, his little whimpering exhale he made as he did so was like gold to me. Jesus, that felt good. I laid into him, told him how much damage he helped cause. How it was fucked up he lied about what my wife had told me, that I had evidence proving they lied and cheated. You're a fucking coward. I said to him. Fuck, that felt good. But what he said back to me almost shocked me. You're right. I am a coward. God damn it, how in the fuck could I feel sorry for this miserable tiny person in that moment? Fuck. I actually felt sorry for him. If he hadn't said that, I would have done much more than just throw words at him. Ugh. In my frustration, I grabbed some of the peanut butter off the shelf he had been stocking and threw it at his feet. Then I walked away. Later I found out that just before I went in there his wife showed up at his work. She pulled him outside, made him admit to it all. She also called him a coward and then she slapped him. The justice. Hearing her tell me that day she confronted him not minutes before I did, and called him the same word I did. She told me he finally admitted it. And some of the stuff my wife told me was confirmed through him. Apparently, a couple of times he legitimately couldn't get it up. Does that make any of it better? No, it just means instead of fucking 4 or so times she told me there was intent on a couple other occasions. I learned in that moment that this man doesn't offer anything more than I do. In fact, he offers much less. I could go into all the ways I know I am better than this guy, but in the end that would just be petty and sad. I actually feel sorry for this guy. In all my frustration and hatred I feel bad for him. So, where does that leave her? I don't know. She has made a lot of changes to start out. She removed social media, deactivated and deleted accounts, she blocked his number, suggested she'd be willing to get a flip phone instead if that would help. She's okay with me checking up on her, checking her phone and messages. For now I think it's justified, however I hate that this is what I am now. The adult checking up on the child to make sure she isn't breaking the rules. Fuck, she turned me into something I am not. She took my wedding ring and put it on a necklace that she won't take off. I took the ring off during our D-Day fight and told her I no longer wanted it. This. This is one thing that I was happy to see her do. She did that in quiet, and kept it under her shirt for a while before I even realized she had done it. When I noticed it, I wanted to cry. Damn it, if I had any tears left I'd cry now thinking of it. She says she wants to do therapy with me. I told her we wouldn't proceed without it. Last weekend we took a trip, away just us to talk, and try to be together. I'll admit there was one day that weekend where everything melted away, and I felt like I had my best friend again. When we left and came back into town, it was like a black cloud instantly came back over me. All the doubts and thoughts never really left, the weekend away just hid them for a bit. I am starting to feel like she is remorseful, but I think all of the tickle truths and gaslighting have pushed back on me accepting any of that remorse. I have to wonder if she was truly remorseful, why she would continue to hide even the littlest things. As if I am some weak person that can't handle it. The is mind-blowing. I feel there is a certain sense of primal need in this. To reclaim it, if that makes any sense. It's not hate at all. It's very passionate, there is love there. There is sadness. But it is amazing. It's also frequent. We have had so much that I think we rival even our times when we first met and had little responsibility. One thing that truly fucks me up though is that for the longest time, she and I would do mild as play on her. She genuinely likes it. Apparently he asked her several times for anal, to which she says they never did, to which she says they never did. She would never let me actually put myself into her because she says I am too big. However, in all the details that have come out, she informs me he's smaller than me. Now all of a sudden, she's open to the idea of anal. After years of just smaller toys and fingers and such during intercourse. Now all of a sudden she's okay with me putting myself inside of her. Maybe she gave that intimate thing to him, and is trying to make amends with me by giving it to me. Or maybe she genuinely didn't give that to him and wants to give it to me. How can I know one way or another? This thought fucks with me so much. However, who knows how sincere this all is? Is it because she's caught? Is it because she's scared to lose our family? Scared of embarrassment? Our oldest at least wouldn't forgive her for a long time, I know. She's old enough to understand, our youngest may be just old enough to understand. Either way, they wouldn't like to hear what their mother did. Why our family was broken up. I always come back to this. They could have ended it at any point, yet they didn't. And if not for me catching her, they could be in a parking lot right now at this very moment fucking. Would they be? So for me, now I am leaving out of state for a while to work remotely from a family member's house. I need the space but fear it so much as well. I will take a long period of time to process all of this. If I want to move forward, if I think it's even worth it to try. I want to see her fight for me, but sometimes my heart gets in her way, and I give her too much. Up to this point I wonder if I am letting her off easy. If I am compromising too much, and giving her cop-outs from owning what she did. Even if I was distant as a husband, even if she did feel lonely, she started this journey, not me. She chose him, not me. As far as I am concerned, she left me in the shower staring at a wall wondering if it would be easier to be dead.